Dr. Elizabeth Halsey pressed her fingertips against the photograph taped to her submersible's control panel. Her daughter Sophie's crayon drawing of the ocean, complete with smiling whales and a stick figure mommy in a submarine. "Go deep, mommy," the child's handwriting read in purple marker. "Find something no one else can." 6 months had passed since the respiratory plague took Sophie, one of billions claimed by what scientists euphemistically called atmospheric adaptation syndrome. Elizabeth had volunteered for this mission to escape a world that felt hollow without her daughter's laughter. But now, descending through 11,000 meters of crushing darkness toward something that shouldn't exist, she wished she'd stayed home to tend Sophie's grave. The Mariana Trench stretched beneath her like a wound in the Earth's flesh, and the seismic readings from 3 weeks ago still made no sense. Not earthquakes. Too rhythmic. Too deliberate. A pulse originating from the deepest point on the planet, broadcast through bedrock in frequencies that made sensitive equipment malfunction and caused migraines in anyone who listened too long. The surface research vessel Cousteau carried her 4-person team. Dr. Martinez, the marine biologist who quoted Carl Sagan and believed the universe was fundamentally benevolent. Dr. Chen, the geologist who'd lost 3 colleagues to similar anomalies and blamed himself for surviving. Captain Rivera, a former Navy diver who insisted every mystery had a logical explanation, and Dr. Yates, the expedition psychiatrist who documented everything obsessively, as if proper notation could protect her from whatever they might find. "Maybe it's a thermal vent anomaly," Elizabeth said aloud, her voice echoing in the cramped cabin as her lights carved through water that had never known sunlight. The rationalization felt hollow even as she spoke it, especially when her hull temperature gauge showed dropping readings instead of the expected rise. The deep ocean was supposed to grow warmer near geological activity, not colder. Her instruments detected the structure ahead before her eyes could process it, a massive signature sprawling across the abyssal plain like metallic growth, its geometry so wrong that looking directly at it triggered vertigo. Martinez's voice crackled through the radio, distorted by static that hadn't been there moments before. "Elizabeth, we're seeing some unusual readings up here. The water temperature above you just dropped 15 degrees in 30 seconds. That's not possible at this depth." His scientific excitement was palpable, the same tone he used when describing cosmic phenomena. "We're the way the cosmos knows itself," he'd said during mission briefing, quoting his idol. She wondered if he still believed that now. As her submersible settled onto the seafloor beside the impossibility, Elizabeth felt something brush against her thoughts. Not sound, but pressure, like someone pressing fingers against the inside of her skull. The structure pulsed with bioluminescent veins that traced patterns older than complex life, and with each throb, her daughter's drawing seemed to shimmer on the control panel. Sophie had drawn herself swimming alongside the whales, her crayon self holding hands with creatures that looked almost human but weren't quite right. Chen's voice joined the radio chatter, tight with barely controlled panic. "The sediment samples we took yesterday are glowing. All of them. Carbon dating shows 4 billion years, but that predates Earth's formation by 500 million years. It's like finding Egyptian hieroglyphs in Precambrian rock." His breathing was rapid, shallow. Chen had watched his previous team suffer psychological breaks after discovering similar anomalies in the Puerto Rico Trench. 2 had required permanent institutionalization. 1 had walked into the ocean and never been found. Elizabeth deployed her sampling arm toward the structure's surface, desperate for concrete data to anchor her dissolving understanding of reality. The metal, if it was metal, rippled like living tissue at her approach, responding with increasing luminosity that painted the seafloor in colors her vocabulary couldn't describe. The moment her equipment made contact, images flooded her mind with surgical precision. Earth as it existed eons before continents formed, covered in cities of living geometry inhabited by entities of pure thought, given crystalline form. Captain Rivera's voice cut through the transmission, professional calm cracking at the edges. "All stations, We've got multiple sonar contacts rising from trenches worldwide. Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, whatever's happening down there, it's not isolated. His military training had taught him to process impossible situations methodically, but Elizabeth could hear the strain. Rivera had survived 3 tours in underwater demolition. Nothing should shake him this badly. The revelation struck Elizabeth like a physical blow, accompanied by her daughter's voice whispering in her memory, "Mommy, why do people get sick and go away?" The entities showing her these visions hadn't been sleeping. They'd been waiting, allowing surface contamination to develop complexity, nurturing it with careful cultivation. Every extinction event throughout history, including the respiratory plague that claimed Sophie, had been gardening, pruning, selective breeding of a species they'd seeded specifically for this moment. Dr. Yates's voice joined the cacophony, clinical detachment dissolving into horrified fascination. "I'm documenting severe psychological manifestations across the team. Martinez is writing equations that don't exist in human mathematics. Chen is speaking in what sounds like a structured language, but it's not in any linguistic database. Rivera keeps reporting sonar contacts that match no known marine life. Her meticulous record-keeping was failing to contain the spreading madness. Some things couldn't be cataloged, only experienced." Elizabeth's submersible shuddered as the seafloor cracked, revealing more of the vast structure beneath. This wasn't a building or machine, it was biological, a sleeping consciousness of impossible dimensions stirring to wakefulness. Her presence had been the final catalyst, completing a summoning that had been building for millennia. She thought of Sophie's drawing again, focusing on the details she'd initially dismissed. The way her daughter had drawn the whales with too many eyes, the geometric patterns in their skin, the knowing smile on the stick figure's face. Through her porthole, she watched the structure begin to unfold, shedding millions of tons of sediment as something incomprehensibly vast stretched after eons of dormancy. But instead of malevolence, she felt something unexpected. Sorrow. The entity mourning the noise her species had made, like static interfering with a forgotten hymn. It didn't hate humanity. It pitied them for their ignorance of the symphony they'd been disrupting. Martinez's transmission cut through her growing understanding, his voice no longer quite human. "Elizabeth, do you see it? The mathematics of everything? We're not the cancer. We're the cure. We were designed to be the bridge between their realm and this one." Sophie knew, didn't she? Children always know first. His words carried viral certainty that rewrote neural pathways through the radio frequency itself. The contamination was spreading through their shared communications, each syllable carrying geometric truths that human brains couldn't contain unchanged. Elizabeth found herself rising through dimensions her physics education had never prepared her for, caught in the entity's stretching consciousness as it awakened fully. But this wasn't abduction, it was invitation. The choice crystallized before her. She could resist and be destroyed like static cleared from a radio signal, or she could open herself willingly and become part of something infinitely larger. The entity waited with infinite patience, offering her a chance to understand what Sophie had somehow known instinctively, that going deep meant finding not horror, but homecoming. Her final human thought was of her daughter's smile, and how proud Sophie would be that Mommy had finally found something no one else could understand. Elizabeth made her choice, opening her consciousness like a door, letting the ancient intelligence walk through. As her transformation began, she realized the respiratory plague hadn't been random. It had been preparation, teaching humanity's children to breathe in dimensions beyond the physical, readying them for the moment when Earth's true inheritors reclaimed their world and elevated their carefully cultivated species to join them in geometries of pure thought, where daughters and mothers could exist together forever in mathematical harmony.